everybody. How you feeling? Feeling good? Yeah, thank you. One person is. All right, it's NBA All-Star Week.
What is she drinking?
Yeah, what are you drinking over there?
Rum and Coke
Nice.
or tequila, right?
It's NBA All-Star Week. We're in Los Angeles. NBA Hall of Famer Ralph Sampson, and we are joined by 14-year NBA veteran, two-time NBA champion, slam dunk contest champion, Brent Bones Berry. What's up, Brent?
I'm sitting next to Ralph Sampson. This is way cooler for me than for you.
Bones.
So
I wonder. I talk to your dad sometimes. Like, it's like great because we on this golf circuit sometimes. Like, okay, Bones.
Oh, yeah. I apologize for
I appreciate that.
Happened along those lines.
He just talks a lot, but it's okay.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm sure, but Bones, we talked about that a couple of times. I want to get the real story.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Because he tells me a story, but I don't know if it's real now.
No, I got that nickname in college. I went off to school at Oregon State, grew up in the Bay Area and played high school basketball there. And when I went off to college in my first year, I was 19 years old and I weighed 178 pounds. I think 178 pounds.
That's about, yeah.
And, for a collegiate athlete at that level,
I went in 190 of a gym.
Well, I wasn't quite as good as you.
His nickname was Stick.
For me at that time to try to keep up with guys physically, that was a huge concern for coaches and stuff. So when I was at school up there, one of my teammates ended up just calling me Bones. It just stuck. So it just stuck that whole time. And in high school, I never had it, but once I got to college, it was over. That was it. And I kind of like it. I hope I can maintain it like you have for the rest of your life.
Exactly. I'm doing pretty good right now.
Yeah.
So
hate for it to change, but that's where that all came from.
Cool. All right.
Well, good.
It stuck with you, and you put some meat on too. That's good.
Enough.
You're not just bones.
Yeah,
right?
Enough.
Well, he stays fit. He stays in shape.
Yeah, exactly. So
if he like his dad, when he works out fiercely.
Oh yeah, he's
all the time.
Yeah, he's in pretty good shape for an older gentleman.
I mean, you grew up in obviously a basketball family. Your father, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and you're one of 5 brothers, all who played basketball.
Yeah.
I believe 3 in the NBA, including yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. What was there ever any pressure to play basketball? Did you want to play basketball, having seen your dad and playing with your brothers? Like, how did this become such a thing in the Berry family?
I think just growing up around the game and making it kind of part of everyday life, it's something that we just naturally fell into. I think having not realized how maybe competitive it is really to reach that level was something that we were able to avoid. And then having access to be around players when we were kids, it was inspiring. So very, very lucky to have had the experience growing up. And I talk, with players today, Ralph, about, I talk with Steph Curry about the same sort of thing. I talk with Clay about it. I talk with Luke Walton about it. We all have very genuinely similar experiences with the fact that that's all we knew. And I think as we got older, it's all we wanted to do. And we were very fortunate.
Which is innate. It just naturally happened. So then you got a passion for it. So
it naturally you want to do it. It's not naturally that you just get to do it. You gotta, you gotta put the work in, and you gotta be good enough. And fortunately, we all got there.
So the 5, who's the best?
Well, my dad, of course.
Oh well, okay. Well, let's get him out of the equation. He thinks he's the best.
Well,
because at some point in time, you took him 1-on-1, and you probably beat him up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that because I just figured that he'd still probably win. I don't know who the best player is of the brothers.
Don't make him say him. We know it's okay.
I know.
Brent had an amazing 14-year career.
Exactly.
And a 2-time NBA champion. What of your accomplishments in your career are you most proud of?
I think it's just the way that, and Ralph knows this well with some of the role players that he played with throughout his career, is that if you do something really well in the league and you kind of get figured out in your first couple of years, you're probably not going to last all that long. I think that I constantly tried to improve on things and bring something new every year to the point where I could play efficiently. That's probably the thing I'm most proud of, is just being a really good shooter. But to be able to play year after year, if you don't get figured out, that must mean that in the summer you're really taking your time to work on something to bring to the table the next year. And so I take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah.
What was the most significant year? Because you blossomed early on, dunk contest and all that. And then most people, like Michael, I don't want to be just a dunker. Yeah. So you transitioned from a dunker to a shooter or scorer. slasher, run up down the court. So people always say, "Oh, he just can dunk." When they,
Yeah, I really didn't dunk all that much. I just dunked at the right time, at the right place. But that just being athletic at my position was something that I could do. I was always a shooter. My rookie year, I didn't play a lot of minutes, but I think I finished second behind Damon Stoudemire. He was Rookie of the Year, making threes, and he was playing 40 minutes a game. And Bill Fitch wasn't playing me more than 20
we had that in
game.
common.
So we could talk about.
Yeah, we had that in common. Yeah, exactly.
But
I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah, I would say most significant year was my time in Seattle, to be honest. There was a great opportunity to play with Coach Westphal and Nate McMillan, who's current coach of the Indiana Pacers, and being allowed some freedom to play a little bit more point guard, to have the ball in my hands a little bit, to handle in the break. And it just opened up a lot of things that I knew I was capable of doing, and then exploring those things. I felt like those years were very formidable for me. And then afterwards, it was all about playing roles. When I went from Seattle to play in San Antonio, I didn't get a chance to do those things. I was subjugated to some degree, but the reason to go there is to accept a role to try to win, and that's exactly what I was able to do and be part of some great teams with the Spurs.
Not a bad place to go, huh? Pop and Tim Duncan.
Good spot, and still there.
David.
And I still talk to to Tim and Pop and Manu and RC, and it's just a great family atmosphere down there, and they continue to have unbelievable success.
Why do you think because we look at sports, they've been that good for that long? Why is that? Why do they do that?
I think the continuity of the relationship, obviously with Pop and Tim spanning 2 decades, that's one reason. But there's something in what it is that they see in the players that they bring in terms of the egoless player. They have a lot of guys who, as Pop would tell you, have gotten over themselves in their careers. And there's nobody really there, if you look through the last 25 years, that's gone there to try to prove themselves as a valuable player.
Right.
They've always picked and chosen guys on other teams that have been part of some success, but more often not have gotten over themselves to come and be part of something bigger than what it is they can bring to the table.
Yeah, some people try to duplicate that, but it's hard to do. But they do a great job.
Very hard to do. And the only teams that are coming close right now are the Warriors and what Steve has been able to establish there. And I think what Brad Stevens in Boston, the foundation that he's laid there, that has started to escalate for the Celtics.
I agree.
Wow. And then you ended your career in Houston, the same place.
1 year.
Both your father and your brother ended their career. What is it about the Berries going to Houston?
It's a great question, because I talk to Daryl Morey all the time, and I say, Daryl, if there's a small plot of land across from Toyota Center, could we put 3 headstones out there? Because Rick finished here, John, and I have my last year there. So something about it. That was a great experience for me the last year, to have a year with Rick Adelman as the coach, understanding how it is that he liked to play offensively. And some of the things that he liked to open up, because there are a lot of teams that incorporate the corner series that they use. So these were all things that I just sat and sponged in my last year in Houston, and had the pleasure of playing with Rick Adelman and Yao Ming and Shane Battier and Kyle Lowry at that time, and a team that pushed some teams in the playoffs.
That's amazing. Now you do an incredible job in your post-playing career on TNT.
On my acoustic guitar.
Acoustic guitar.
I thought you were going right to the music.
Right to the music.
We can talk about that too. You want any gigs you want to promote?
The announcing thing's taking too much practice.
Announcing, you're doing an excellent job on
Thank
TNT
you.
and NBA TV. Would you ever want to get into coaching?
I think eventually that will probably be a road that I'll travel. Right now, with sort of family stuff and my boys trying to get one off to college, and try to get another one in high school and ready to go to college. So the timing of those things are things that I'm trying to make really appropriate. But I think there's definitely a future maybe to get down on the bench and be back on the court. As Ralph would tell you, there's part of you that when you step away from the game that never leaves you. And there's only a few ways that you can tap back into that. That is, if you get a chance to be part of a team in the front office as a general manager where you got skin back in the game, or you can impact young players coming into the league and use some of your experience to communicate those things. So those are coming. Right now it's about being here at All-Star Weekend, seeing legends and hanging out.
Well, we talked earlier a little bit, and seeing it this weekend where they're now incorporating players now in commentating or even on the benches, and maybe sometime soon, hopefully in the general manager spot, because everything has changed in the front office, as you see. That's why, again, Popovich has been so good because they keep the same folks,
Yeah.
in the same system. So what do you think about, some guys are like our Phoenix guys with a videographer,
Yeah.
and he became a general manager.
Yeah.
And so you see why that team, nothing against the guy and his personality, but
Yeah.
he might not know basketball like you do
Right.
or I do.
And I think that for Ryan in that situation, it's also tough when a young guy who's had some experiences is bringing in a lot of young guys who have to have their own experiences, and so he's grown a lot, but there's too many pieces that need to grow up too quickly, and not everybody does it at the same speed and at the same pace. So it's been tough for Phoenix to rebuild, especially after Steve Nash left and Griff. For them to rebuild something down there that becomes stable. They have some young players that could be good, but hopefully at some point here, with Devin Booker definitely being the star moving forward, that they'll just be able to stop taking 3 steps back and half a step forward and actually get ahead of the game just a little bit.
We were looking at the Warriors the other day, and they played them, and Steve let Iguodala and other guys
all had to
run the
clip
play
ball.
because they were blowing them out so bad. Let
Yeah.
me let you coach. So, I mean, if I'm that owner and that other coach, I'm like, I'm really pissed because you got your players that now we're laughing stock of the league.
Yeah, there were some interesting comments after that game. And I know that Jay Triano went over to Steve, and Steve said right away, and they had a healthy conversation about it right after the game. So there wasn't any, that got squashed pretty quick. Yeah. And I know that Jared's amazing. He said some great things about, look, man, I'm not concerned about what the Warriors are doing. I worry about our team getting themselves together. And the last thing that I would say regarding Steve is you wouldn't tell any other person, parent, how to parent their children.
Right.
This is Steve's group, and that's the way he's going to do it. It's not your business to comment on it. Just worry about your own kids.
Well, if you comment about it, you worry about other things than the right things, right?
Yeah, that's right. And for a team that's done what the Warriors have done, I'm not going to question really one thing.
They can do that, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, one tactic that I might hold on to that one in my back pocket and use it later.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, amazing. You mentioned Steve Kerr. And that's why I asked you about coaching. I see a lot of parallels just from listening to you, the way you break down the game and communicate with players and your experience as a former player to you and Steve Kerr. So
I appreciate that. Can you give me a Steph Curry and a Klay Thompson and a Kevin Durant?
And you're good, right?
I'm all set.
Yeah, then you'll be good. Yeah, exactly. That's what you can do. All right, so let's end it on the dunk contest because, I'm rocking the Brent Berry dunk contest tee here. It's All-Star Weekend.
With the warm-up jacket.
Exactly. One,
he could have jumped maybe a couple more inches if you took that jacket off. Right?
It was like the wind slew you down. But, hey, it worked. You won. Where's the trophy today? What do you do with your slam dunk contest trophy? And 2, I want to know this weekend's NBA All-Star Weekend. Who's your pick to win the slam dunk contest?
Okay, first thing, the trophy is it's in a closet in my house, and I actually years ago had a really talented metal worker cut the trophy in half. So it actually it's laser cut, and you can take the top off, and I use it as a chips and dip bowl.
Nice.
It's legitimately like guac on one side, chips on the other.
Wow.
And so I'll bust it out like NCAA tournament time.
That is impressive.
It's been used as Halloween candy
wow.
bowl. I think what the hell else are you gonna do?
I guess
and
that's
then
cool.
This
Functional.
week, functional.
Yeah.
This weekend, I'm really rooting. I want Donovan Mitchell to. They've been on a tear. Utah. I mean, if people have been following, Utah won 11 straight games before the break. Mm-hmm. This guy has been playing incredible. He's doing things.
Rookie of the year, in my opinion.
He's close. He's close to Simmons,
Simmons,
but him coming here on that tear. And knowing athletically what he's capable of doing, I'm kind of on the Donovan Mitchell train right now. We'll see if he does it. I'm not voting. I'm just calling.
Give your opinion.
Yes. Okay, all right.
Donovan Mitchell.
I like it. Well, you're an expert. You've got a lot of expertise in this area.
No.
You have
when you pay the judges, you're not an expert.
Okay, well, whatever. You're the one with the chips and dip bowl.
That's right. Nobody has that.
Exactly.
No. That's the first.
When it comes to slam dunking snacks, you are the best that there ever
this
was.
is
Next
good.
time you pull out and put some dips in, send me a picture of that. I want to see what
I've
that
got it.
is.
I'll show you. I'll show you the photo.
Okay,
we'll get
cool.
a picture of it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Brent, thanks for chatting with us.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate
Jason,
it.
pleasure
have
to
fun
have some
here.
time.
Yeah,
Ralph,
I'll play with it.
Absolute honor.
All the
Thank
best.
you so much.
All right, a Hall of Famer, dunk contest winner, and just another white guy talking.
They always say white
I
man
started
can't
out
jump.
like that.
But
Don't worry about
they
it.
can jump.
Cool. Perfect. All right, thank you.